Yo, what's up, and welcome to the opening line of Friday edition. Corey and Benny coming at you before Benny heads down to the shore. Benny, what's good?
Hey, you said it, man. I mean, I'm just here so I don't get fined, and then I'm heading down to the store right afterwards.
What I want to do today, right quick, hop into some training camps that are setting up and starting all across the league. So I want to kind of go through a question, a team. We'll do the AFC today, hop into the NFC on Monday, and then we'll get some baseball bets and picks and stuff like that, and we'll send everybody about their merry way, hopefully, to a happy, healthy, and productive weekend. Let's start in Kansas City, Benny. We got Tyreek Hill is back.
Mm-hmm.
The whole squad is there. I guess the question is Damian Williams going to be the Andy Reid back that, is Damian Williams going to give us what Andy Reid running backs give us?
I don't see any reason why not unless he gets hurt.
You know what? Michael Salfino said, always interesting follow on Twitter. Salfino said if you look at this guy's draft, he's just a guy. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He said, he says he can't see it because, Kareem Hunt was a top pick, and, guys like Brian Westbrook and LaShawn McCoy, they came in with all this draft capital and stuff like that, and they got it done because they were good players. And he was like, Damian Williams is a guy that kind of just bouncing around the league. My thing is, I'm trusting Andy Reid's system and that offense more than I'm trusting the talent.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the role, right? Like, it's the role that you're playing and where you are. There are a lot of guys who came in the league with a lot of hype and may even be better players than other guys. But for fantasy production, which is really what we talk about a lot here, you care about the opportunity that guys have. It's a marriage between talent, opportunity, and, the way that things go with the team. This is a high-paced team. It's going to be a high-paced offense that runs a lot of plays. He's going to be on the field for a lot of those plays. The ball's going to be in his hand, whether passing, whether through the pass or by the handing it off to him on a lot of those plays. He has a chance to put up big numbers. Other guys may have been drafted higher. Other guys may even be more talented. But other guys aren't going to get the same type of opportunity that he's going to get in a system with a balanced team and a good quarterback and all that stuff. So, I mean, you said it. Andy Reid, running backs in the Andy Reid system always tend to produce. They catch the ball out of the backfield. They run the ball a lot. They're in a high-pace, high-tempo offense. There's a lot of positives there. Does Damian Williams put up the numbers that Kareem Hunt was putting up before he got hurt? Maybe, maybe not. But I still think this guy is going to put up very good numbers on the season, probably finish somewhere around running back 8 to running back 12 as long as he stays healthy. So to me, if he stays healthy, he's the man.
He's an RB1. You know what I'm saying? I have no question about that. The Los Angeles Chargers, I guess the question is really how much run, how are they going to break up this backfield? And, how are they going to break up this backfield? Because we've seen Adam Schefter reported just this morning, Melvin Gordon's digging in, bro, and this is going to go into the season.
I said this as soon as the story broke. I told everybody, go draft Austin Eckler right now, whatever round you're in, go get him. I'm going to go back to what I said when we had this discussion for the first time. As soon as I heard this news, the first thing I did, I went back to last season. I looked at those games that Melvin Gordon was hurt or Melvin Gordon was out and didn't play. And what you saw last season in those situations is, everybody was talking about, oh, this is going to be Justin Jackson, whatever. The guy who got most of the work was still Austin Eckler.
Yep.
Eckler still got all the passing down work. He's the receiver out of the backfield, and he actually got as many or more carries than Jackson did in those situations. So, to me, the guy you want to own is Austin Eckler. He should be shooting up draft boards somewhere into the, I'm going to say like 5th or 6th rounds right there, and Jackson is definitely a viable handcuff.
No doubt. The Denver Broncos question is pretty easy with this one right here. Well, I guess it's two kind of questions, but I think the main one is who is going to be the wide receiver that will be targeted the most. I say Deshaun Hamilton. He's the guy playing in the slot, Benny, but I would also keep an eye on Tim Patrick.
Yeah, the Tim Patrick thing is interesting because I've been hearing that name mentioned a lot lately. So I'm anxiously looking to see. This is where you start looking at this stuff. You want to start looking and seeing who goes out there in preseason and plays. And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to give everybody a little trick here. You don't want the guys that are actually on the field in the preseason.
Yeah, those are the guys battling for roster spots.
Yeah.
On the sideline are the guys they want to keep healthy for the regular season.
That's right. Like if Tim Patrick, for some reason, plays the first series and doesn't get back in the game, that's actually a good sign. Yeah. That's like, that's what you want to see. You want to see some of these guys that are on the fringe that you're wondering about. You want to see them not play much in the first game of the preseason other than maybe the first few snaps, because that means that the team is looking at them as being a big piece for the season, and those are the guys that are going to, wind up having a role. So especially now when you're drafting, before everybody else has all this information, because in a week or two after we start seeing these games, there's going to be 50 different people like Corey and I talking about or writing about, here's what you should do with this guy or that guy. But if you're doing drafts on I think the first game is this Thursday coming up, the Hall of Fame game. And then, about a week later, we got a whole bunch more.
There's a line out for that game, Benny.
Is there really? I don't bet preseason football.
Probably not a good idea, but
yeah, there are people who dig into depth charts, third string, fourth string depth charts a lot more than I do. If you're one of those people willing to do that, I'm not gonna lie. Even people that play preseason DFS, if you're willing to put in the work, there's money to be made there if you're willing to do it. But
God bless you, but it's a tough proposition.
It's a lot of reading beat writer stuff, and that's just so boring at this time of
year. Another quick question about the Broncos. Is Flacco the starter all season, or are they going to give Locke a shot?
I think Flacco is the starter. I think he winds up being the starter all season, and the reason why I say that is I see the Broncos as one of those teams that's going to be around 8-8 and fighting for that last playoff spot. So as long as they still have a chance to make the playoffs, I don't see them switching. If it gets to the point where they're 6 and I don't even want to say that. If they're 4-8 or 5-9, and there's 2 or 3 games left in the season, and you're not making the playoffs, they probably will get a look at the kid to see if he's going to be their future or not.
No doubt. I would agree with you on that. The Oakland Raiders, Mr. Big Chest and the crew, Hard Knocks. I guess the question is, Benny, and I guess in my opinion is, outside of Brown, does anybody have any fantasy value?
I mean, I think Jacobs, the rookie, I think he'll have some. I think Carr has some because they're probably going to be trailing in a lot of games. Waller, I think, is somebody who deserves to be on rosters. They're tight end.
Yeah.
All 4 of those guys, I think, deserve to be rostered.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to put up big numbers outside of Antonio Brown? Probably not.
No. Float like a butterfly, sting like AB. How about that? AB.
I like it.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. Leonard Fournette's health.
I mean, we're already hearing stories about it, right?
But I heard that was a fake report. I heard that wasn't true. Let me clear up. Yeah, you know what? I saw that yesterday, but then somebody doubled back and came back and that report was not true.
Listen, I mean, it's every year. You're asking me the question that we ask every year, right? Is Leonard Fournette going to stay healthy?
Mm-hmm.
And what's the answer to the question every year?
No.
I'm not going to change it now, but you know what I'm saying? At some point every year he gets hurt, so I'm not going to change my opinion on it now.
Production out of him that you got his rookie season, though, especially where he's going, he can be an X factor. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, the thing is, his rookie season and even last year when he was healthy, they've shown a willingness to give this guy 20, 25
ball. Yeah.
They will feed him. The problem I have, though, Corey, is when you feed a guy that's injury-prone 20, 25 times, guess what happens? He gets injured eventually. So
he's been carrying big workload since his days at LSU because they couldn't throw the football. So, he's accustomed to carrying the ball a lot. One more thing with the Jaguars. If you had one, I'm a D.D. Westbrook guy. What about you? Or are you just like none of them?
No, D.D. Westbrook's my favorite of those wide receivers too.
Yeah.
If I'm taking any of them, it's D.D. Westbrook. I don't even know. A lot of people are talking about Marquise Lee. I don't think he's even going to start the season. Yeah, he might start the season on the PUP list. May miss a couple games anyway. I don't really want to mess with the DJ Sharks of the world. If I'm taking any receiver on the Jags, to me it's D.D. Westbrook. Again, a guy I've always liked. So.
Tennessee Titans. Can Derrick Henry keep the train rolling? I say no. I'm just anti-Derrick Henry at this point.
I mean, when we say keep the train rolling, what are we talking here? Are we talking
how he finished last year? Does he carry that into this season?
No, I mean, last year he finished last season with like 150, 200-yard games and multiple touchdowns. Like, do I think he's going to do that for a whole year? No. But is he going to be 1,000?
More relevant than he was in the beginning part of the season. Well, he was on the bench for the most part.
Yes, I think that it's his job. The problem I have is, like, this isn't a team I'm expecting to win 10 to 14 games, so I'm not expecting him to be running out the clock in the fourth quarter like he was in some of those games last year as often. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's fantasy relevant, but I think people expecting him to be the guy we saw late last season rushing for 100-plus yards and multiple touchdowns every game. I don't think you're getting that out of him.
Indianapolis Colts. Is Marlon Mack for real?
He's for real. Healthy, he's for real. When he's healthy, he's for real.
Benny, I think I'm starting to buy into the Marlon Mack thing. And my thing has always been, you don't go to Indianapolis to get running backs. You go to Indianapolis to get Andrew Luck, T.Y. Hilton, and the pieces in that passing game and ignore the running backs. But now I'm like, offensive line is much better. They're bringing back the same exact unit.
True.
I think this team is going to make a deep run in the AFC.
True.
I'm getting behind Marlon Mack this year.
So here's the difference to me. In years past, they haven't had a complete team. They haven't had a good defense. They haven't had a good line. They were trailing in a lot of games and needed to pass. So the passing game was more of what they were getting done. I think we both agree this year that we think this is a playoff team, which means we think they're going to have 10 or 11 wins, which means that there's going to be 5 or 6 at least fourth quarters where they're probably up a touchdown or more, where they're feeding Marlon Mack and letting him kind of run wild with a good offensive line blocking in front of him. I don't disagree with you. Over the years, I've been a Jack Doyle tight end, T.Y. Hilton, Andrew Luck kind of guy whenever I've gone to Indy, but I'm buying into Marlon Mack this year. The problem I have with Mack is he needs to stay healthy.
That is going to be important to his production and to your fantasy teams. The Houston Texans. I don't really want to do the Lamar Miller thing because it's kind of played out. Everybody know how I feel about Lamar Miller. And Benny, I don't think that you're a Lamar Miller guy either. You probably don't have the disdain that I have for Lamar Miller. But Super Bowl is in Miami this year. And you know what I'm saying? And I got people in Miami. And I've already kind of like, I might come down there just to chill. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, man, Lamar Miller's from Miami too. What if I was to, like, run into Lamar Miller in Miami? He'd be like, you the one that always say I suck. Then I'd be like, damn, son, I don't want to fight. I don't want no smoke, but it is what it is. But
how is he going to pick you out amongst 100 of analysts who say the same exact thing? He's going to be fighting everybody.
No, Benny, but when Lamar Miller does something, people tag me. Like, they'll tag us. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
at Lamar Miller, at the fantasy exec. Yeah.
At the fantasy exec. See, I told you he don't suck. And I'm like, chill, y'all. Like, I don't want no smoke. Lamar Miller, and the Foreman kid has never really developed. I think, Benny, I've kind of told you this, and I've seen some people talking about the tight ends on this team, but I don't think that's the issue. Benny, I'm worried about DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay, I mean, to me, the question with Houston then, especially if you're worried about Hopkins, is which Houston wide receiver do you want the most between Hopkins, Kiki Kuti, and Will Fuller?
I'm going to take a crack on Will Fuller this year. I've never owned Will Fuller.
Really?
Never.
See, I like Fuller. I've had Fuller shares, and I have Fuller shares this year too, and I have Kiki Kuti shares. I think people are really sleeping on Kiki Kuti. Like, that is one of those guys that I have been going after around the 10th round of every draft that I've kind of been in to make sure I have him on my team. He had some monster weeks, and if you're going to take guys like DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller, expecting them to at some point have injuries because, again, you're worried about Hopkins this year. I'm always worried about Fuller because he's another guy that seems to get an injury every year. Kiki Kuti could have a monster season right now for a guy being drafted in the 10th, 11th round.
Interesting. The Cincinnati Bengals.
God, what are we talking about here?
Christ, man. They still doing Joe Mixon. That's right. I'm like, who's the running back?
I like Mixon. I like Mixon.
I can get behind Mixon. Who's the number one though? And listen, I'm not being facetious. I think Tyler Boyd might be this team's top wide receiver.
So to me, AJ Green is still the number one. but Tyler Boyd is the better value of the two where he's getting drafted.
Yeah.
I'm not reaching for A.J. Green. I don't think I have any shares of him yet.
I've seen him in the third, Benny. Even in the third, you don't want him?
Even in the third, I still think that's a reach.
Okay.
Where's Tyler Boyd going?
Tyler Boyd is probably going in you know what? It's not as the stalk as people think. Tyler Boyd is probably going in like the fifth or the sixth.
In the sixth, I'd rather have Tyler Boyd in the sixth than A.J. Green in the third. If they're that close together. See, my thing with A.J. Green isn't talent, Corey. It's staying healthy.
Yeah.
You know, and when it's with a guy staying healthy, again, whether he's a third-round pick, a first-round pick, or a fifth-round pick, like, I need to get a lot of value on a guy who I'm worried about injuries with.
Exactly. And another thing I'm worried about with certain players and injuries, dudes that have the same injury all the time.
Yes.
When it's week 3.
Like Leonard Fournette with his hamstring.
And you see A.J. Green limping to the sideline, and then in the postgame, he's talking about his foot. That's when I'm like, oh, your foot is going to be a fucking thing again. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and the thing is, once it becomes a thing in week 3, it's never not a thing for the rest of the season. Like, he may still play, but he's never going to be 100% for the rest of the season. And that's my problem with it. And that's why I said, like, you know, like if A.J. Green falls to the 5th round, I'm snatching him.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me to pay his price or around his price for him, somebody else is going to take him before I do because I don't want to deal with the – same thing with Fournette. Like, if Fournette's around at the end of the 4th round or the 5th round, I'm taking a chance on Leonard Fournette even though he's got the injury history. But if you're asking me to go Leonard Fournette in, like, the 3rd round, I'm not taking him at ADP when I'm that worried about the injury.
I want to see something. I'm going to look up something right quick. I want to know if he had a surgery. God, this dude is 6'4", 210 pounds.
Was that A.J. Green?
Yes, and he runs like a 4.4. That's crazy, son. The team gave Tyler Boyd a contract extension. I wonder if he had surgery in the offseason on that foot, on that toe. Because I know
if you look up notes, if you go to Roto World and you look up notes wide receiver, they probably got something there. It's usually the best way to find something like that.
Yeah, and this thing right here just says that Green is returning off a off-season toe injury. I know the damn toe was injured. I want to know if he had surgery. You know what I'm saying? We'll have that information for you next week. You know what I mean? If he has surgery, that could be a good thing because Jordan Reed had the surgery. Somebody else had the surgery recently too. And the people that have had the surgery have actually come back. Well, let me not say be healthy because Jordan Reed, put it like this, it wasn't Jordan Reed's injury last year, it was not the toe. You know what I'm saying?
But also, apparently, and again, I don't know, you know, you can take this with a grain of salt. Everybody looks good in pads in July from, you know, the reports. But they say that's an injury that takes a little while to come back from. So, like, Jordan Reed really needed all last season to kind of get himself right again. And they say he looks great starting this year. So, we'll see. I mean, again, everybody looks good in July. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? My man Devontae Parker, Mr. August.
Yep.
It's a lot of Mr. August.
True, every year with one of those big this is going to be the breakout year.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns. Can Baker live up to the hype?
I mean, I think he lived up to it last year, right? Once they changed offensive coordinators late in the season, that offense looked really good, and he was the reason. I mean, we thought Saquon Barkley had no chance of anybody catching him for Rookie of the Year. Baker at least made it a discussion. I still think, I still agree that Barkley was Rookie of the Year, but the way he played down the stretch, he at least made it a discussion. So, I mean, you give him more weapons, you expect him to take a step forward. We'll see if he does or not.
Can he finish in the top 5 at his position?
Can he? Yes. Will he? Again, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gung-ho Baker Mayfield like a lot of other people are.
Yeah.
Part of the reason is I think they're going to be good this year. You know, last year they were playing from behind. He needed to throw the ball a lot in some of those games to keep them in it or to bring them back into it. This year, I kind of have a feeling they're going to be beating up on people.
Let me ask you a question, Benny. In a season-long league, would you have Mayfield and Beckham on the same team?
I have no problem doing that.
Me neither. Okay.
I have no problem doing that. I would say this, though. I probably would not have Baker, Beckham, and Landry, or Baker, Beckham, and Njoku.
Yeah.
You know,
Too much.
Yeah, like I don't want to have, because the thing is, if you're starting them all every week, like 1 week in a good matchup against a team where you expect it to be a shootout, it might work. But most weeks, those guys are going to kind of cannibalize each other.
Yeah.
But I have no problem with a pass catcher and the guy throwing him the ball. I have a problem with like multiple pass catchers on the same team. That's my big deal.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, we already know who is the guy that emerges on the other side of Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, again, I don't know the answer to that question. Yeah, I don't think anybody does. But
nobody knows the answer to that question right now. Smith-Schuster has said that James Washington is ready to go, but Smith-Schuster and James Washington are boys. You know what I'm saying? Roethlisberger has said that Washington has turned the corner also, but like he knows them. Like when Moncrief get there, it can be like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? He got it down too. So that's something that's going to be one of the most watched and most talked about position battles of training camp. Because whoever gets those snaps and gets those reps, Benny, that's going to be that can be Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it as you lost a lot of targets with Antonio Brown. They got to go somewhere. Schuster already had a lot of targets, so it's not like you're going to double his targets. He's not going to get 20 targets a game. We've never seen somebody do that. You know what I mean? So they got to go to the other places right now, and the other places right now are, whoever winds up emerging out of those two wide receivers. So I don't think it all goes to one or the other two. I think both of those guys are going to be fantasy relevant, but one of them is going to be more relevant than the other, and that's the question. And for my money right now, I'm drafting both, but I prefer Washington if I only had to pick one.
Yeah, I would go the same way as that because, like I said, Washington has been there. Got to that slow start last year, but you did see him take some steps in the later half of the season. The Baltimore Ravens, my question is for the Ravens is fantasy-wise, what can Lamar Jackson do? Can he be a guy that's just starting every week?
Without a doubt. And again, it depends. In season long, you can start him every week because the rushing yards give him a safe floor.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the thing I think people need to understand is like you're not going to get many bad, quote-unquote, bad games.
Will he throw 25 touchdown passes?
25 would be what, 1.5 a game? I think it'll be close, but I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I think it'll be close, but I'm going to say no. Because, I mean, you expect him – like, if you said to me, is he going to have over 30 total touchdowns, I'd probably say yes.
Okay.
I do think he'll get 5 or 6 with his legs, and I think he'll be somewhere around 20, 25, somewhere in that range probably with his arm.
All right. I can dig that.
Because if you think it's going to be anything more than that, Corey, then this guy should be flying up draft boards.
I want to say, if you think he can throw 25, then we're talking about QB1 right now because that's phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? I think Baltimore's an interesting team. You know what I'm saying? I would keep an eye on Baltimore. I know one of their coaches too, so I might actually get some tickets, take a trip down there one weekend. That'd be cool.
Not a bad ride. Really, not a bad ride from here.
3 hours, and Jaden's right there at Morgan State, so yeah, it's the whole thing is perfect. New York Jets. Yesterday, Le'Veon Bell said, "I'm down for 500 touches." My thing is, Adam Gase is like, how about 250?
Adam Gase is like, listen, Kenyon Drake too. We're gonna kind of slow it down with you a little bit there. I mean, listen. First off, 500 touches is crazy. I don't think anybody's ever done that. Like, I think 450-ish, somewhere around there, is like the most in NFL history.
You're talking Earl Campbell type. You know what I'm saying?
Like, and not even in this era. So I think it's crazy if you're thinking that. I mean, listen. I am still of the mindset that Le'Veon Bell is going to be the workhorse here. I still think anything less than giving him 20 touches a game is stupid. So, to me, 350 sounds like a really good number that I could get behind for Le'Veon Bell touches this year, which is great, and I'd be fine with that. But like you mentioned, I mean, I don't know, man. I wasn't sold on Adam Gase when they hired him, and then seeing the way that things have broken down and worked out since he's been here doesn't really instill a lot of confidence in me. So, I hope I'm wrong. I hope Le'Veon Bell has a monster season. I hope the Jets are really good. And I hope I don't hate watching football in November and December because of it. But I kind of have a feeling I might.
The interesting thing, Sam Darnold, the Jets, Lev Bell. I think the situation, they wanted the ownership really was interested in Mike McCarthy, but the Packers absolutely trashed him on the way out the door.
I'm actually happy about that because I didn't want McCarthy either.
You don't want McCarthy?
No, not a McCarthy guy. My biggest problem with McCarthy is he's not a player's coach.
Yeah.
That, his problem is with the locker room, right? Like X's and O's wise, he also really he's a system coach. Like he sticks to his system and he'll take whatever pieces he has and try to fit them into his system. One thing I give Bill Belichick a lot of credit for, and I think other people don't give him enough credit for, is he will look at what he has and he will design plays that help the players that he has produce the maximum that they can produce. Mike McCarthy is one of those coaches that just says, here's what we do, here's how we're going to do it, and we're not going to change, whether it works or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you notice that, and that was one of the things that the Packers complained about too, is that, the first couple weeks of the season, maybe something will work, but once teams start getting tape on you, you have to do different things. And if you're not willing to do different things in the league, the way the league is now, if you're just going to go out there and go 3 wide and throw the ball, run it on first down and then, throw it if you're in long on second down and stuff like that. His play calling was just very antiquated. Yeah. And it was why that, despite the fact that they had talented players on that team, it was why the offense was always so boring in Green Bay.
The Buffalo Bills, if anybody outside of Josh Allen fantasy relevant?
I mean, do you want to go with like a Foster or a Brown or one of those pass catchers is going to be relevant, whether it's Brown or Foster or even Beasley out of the slot. Like one of those guys is probably going to be, and they're all going like late in drafts too. So I mean, there's stuff to be taken there. But for me, it really, I think the guy I have the most of is Allen, and I'm not touching the running backs. I don't know if you have any faith.
The running backs going to be a shit show, Benny.
Yeah, I'm not touching that.
The running backs are going to be a shit show. It's nothing to see there. Trust me, I was in that situation last year. It didn't work out well.
I was almost hoping LaShawn McCoy gets traded. That would at least give me.
You can see it, yeah, exactly, and then you'll be able to see if Shady still got some juice. Yesterday when they lined up 3 wide, it was Zay Jones, John Brown, and Cole Beasley on the field with the ones.
Okay. I mean, to me, Zay Jones and Cole Beasley.
No Bob Foster.
Yeah, Zay Jones and Cole Beasley to me are both slot guys.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would have Foster on the other side, but really, John Brown is what Foster is. Like they're the same guy, the over the top stretch the defense kind of guy. And John Brown is probably better. I mean, Foster really had a couple good games there at the end. I don't know, man. Like you said, I don't think this is going to be a high potency offense. I don't think they're going to throw the ball for a ton of yards either. Allen was a guy last year who can throw it a little bit, the deep ball, but picked up a lot with his legs as well and kind of got first downs and kept drives going that way. I just don't see this being like a blow-up offense I want a lot of pieces of for fantasy.
The Miami Dolphins.
Jesus Christ, I don't even know what to say here.
It's
What question are you gonna ask? Because there's a million of them with this offense.
Tank for Tua. The running backs, the wide receivers, Fitzmagic, Josh Rosen. It's a shit show. This team was 4-2 in the division last year, and they also were 6-2 at home. So they was able to fight through it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But this looks like a tank job to me right here.
So running back wise, yesterday we get the news. Everybody's been drafting Kenyon Drake. We get the news yesterday that Kalen Ballage took all the first team snaps, or most of the first team snaps in tryouts and preseason camp, whatever. You mentioned it. I mean, we both like Fitzmagic, but they didn't trade for Rosen to just have him sit there and watch the 40-year-old Ryan Fitzmagic kind of play. So at some point this year, you got to think he's going to get in there. They just signed
when they pull it when the wheels come off, and they're gonna come off quick. Yep. You know what I'm saying? They'll probably put Fitz on the bench and see what they got with Rosen, and then they're going to draft a quarterback. Jake Fromm, Tua, Herbert. One of these dudes is going to be the quarterback in Miami next year. And I think they'll at least give Rosen a chance to say, okay, well, here's your shot to see if we don't draft a quarterback, or can you still be on this team when we do draft our quarterback next year?
Or even to see if he can turn it around so they can do like what the Jets did with Teddy Bridgewater, where, you flip him for a second-round pick or something, and you get something else out of it if there's another team that's looking for him. My biggest problem with the Dolphins is
and son Josh Rosen be like, damn, son, I've been in the NFL 3 years. I played with 3 teams. And that was the first pick.
Still getting a paycheck, so you can't really complain about it. You know what I mean? But my problem with this team is at every position, really, with the exception of tight end, where we know it's going to be Mike Gesicki, there's a bunch of guys that are decent, but nobody who's great, and nobody that I really want for fantasy.
Yep, I agree with you on that. Finally, the New England Patriots. Who's going to replace Rob Gronkowski?
Again, I mean, I'm not really sure how they're going to go about doing this. A lot of people are talking about guys that they're bringing in and stuff like that. I just feel like it's going to be more concentrated passes to Julian Edelman and James White and stuff like that. I don't think that you can really replace Rob Gronkowski. And I think the guys that it's going to be by committee with the tight ends that they brought in. And I don't think any one of them is going to be able to match the numbers that Gronk in his prime put
up. Those names are Steven Anderson, Andrew Beck, who don't even have a damn picture, Ryan Izzo, H to the Izzo, Lance Kendricks, who's been a bum his whole life, Matt Lacoste, who hasn't been much better, and Ben Watson, the 50-year-old Ben Watson, who's suspended to start the season.
Yeah, Lacoste is the guy that I would put my money on to have the biggest role, but I don't think he's going to have the Gronk role. You know, like he's not going to – again, what I love about Belichick is he will look at the talent that he has and say, okay, we got to figure out how to get these guys the ball more, and we're not going to concentrate as much as we have in the past on tight ends because we don't have a star tight end.
You know, Benny, looking at this team's roster, this team is trash. You're looking at –
You talking about the Patriots?
Yeah.
Don't disagree with you, but they'll finish 12-4 anyway.
This is amazing how this is a roster full of nobodies. You know what I'm saying?
And they'll finish 12-4 anyway.
Rex Burkhead, and you know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, you got White and Michelle, but Michelle can't stay healthy. You know what I'm saying? Philip Dorsett, who's always been a bust, and Dontrell Inman, who's bounced around. And you're like, how do you continue to play in the damn Super Bowl? Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. That's how you do it.
And a good offensive line.
No doubt. All right, Benny, let's get some of these baseball winners before we get up out of here.
Yeah, so, I mean, for baseball today, I'm looking at a lot of these, and we talked about it last week, Corey. When you get to this point in the season, you're not getting the same kind of solid odds on a lot of these teams that you get. So, like, a lot of the teams that you wind up liking at this point in the year, you're taking 160, 170, minus 180, minus 200. So what I try to do is find stuff that's a little bit undervalued and maybe, like, parlay two of them that I really like together. And that's the way that I went about it today. So the Miami Marlins and the Chicago White Sox are two of the worst teams in baseball. So those are two teams you should want to pick on. You got Greinke for Arizona going up against Miami. You have Michael Pineda, who's actually been really good for the Minnesota Twins, going up against the Chicago White Sox. So for me today, the only bet that I'm really looking at, the one I put in this morning because I didn't want the odds to go against me anymore, Greinke, Arizona, minus 180 against Miami. Parlayed that money line with Michael Pineda from Minnesota against the Chicago White Sox. Got me a plus 148, so about plus 150 on DraftKings this morning. I thought that was a pretty good return for two teams that I feel are pretty much a lock to win today. So Arizona, Minnesota, the two teams I really liked. I didn't want to take them straight up at minus 170 and minus 180. Parlayed the two of them together. Every dollar gets you $1.5 basically. So probably throw like 200 on that and hopefully win 300 and cash a $500 ticket today.
That's not a bad way to go about it at all. Anybody you see? Any home runs?
You know, I started looking at some of it, but I didn't get that deep into it because I was more looking at the I'm not doing the hitter article today, so I was more looking at the spreads for the show here. You know, later on today, I'll probably go in and start looking for DFS-wise and, you know, kind of break it down. So yeah, text me before first pitch, or for guys that have our DFS package, if you've signed up for the DFS package over at elitefantasy.com. I'll probably be in chat during live stream or something, or in chat before the games kick off. So ask me that question then, and I'll give it to you.
All right, Benny, you and the crew. Big piece of chicken. What you got?
Let's see. I'm going to give my big piece of chicken to Jose Ramirez for hitting a home run in the 14th inning of a game where I was literally trying to keep my eyes open to see how that was going to end last night because I had money on the Indians. So him going yard in the 14th inning, giving them a 4-3 lead, made it a pretty good day for me overall. So Jose Ramirez, you get my big piece of chicken.
Jose Ramirez, you win money for Benny. You get 2 pieces. For my main man, Benny, enjoy yourself down the shore this weekend. I'm Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, the opening line. We are out.